hope you're all doing great today. Welcome to today's focus group webinar on Zoho CRM's CommandCenter 2.0. Whether you stumble upon this feature before or you're already using it today, we will walk you through how you can automate customer journeys across different modules with CommandCenter and what's new in CommandCenter 2.0. Our panelists for the day are Abhi and Priya, the product managers of CommandCenter 2.0, and I'm Maushmi from the Zoho community team. In today's webinar, Abhi and I will discuss CommandCenter and all the new functionalities we've introduced in CommandCenter 2.0 and how it will help your automation setup and how you can configure it for your use cases. To start off, we will begin by exploring what CommandCenter does and how it will help you visualize your business processes within your CRM system. We will jump into all the new features that makes a new, improved CommandCenter 2.0 and what now can be achieved. In CommandCenter 2.0, we will discuss how to plan and build cross-module customer journeys using real-world scenarios, the new capabilities that enhance journey building, automation, and navigation, best practices to set up and manage journeys along with a sneak peek into the product's roadmap for what's coming next in CommandCenter 2.0. And finally, we will wrap up with a Q&A session, so feel free to jot down your questions as we go along. So with that, let's get started by taking a closer look at what CommandCenter 2.0 really is and how it can transform your process management in Zoho CRM. CommandCenter gives you the power to map out and automate customer journeys across different modules, ensuring each touch point is seamlessly connected and traceable. Whether you're managing a sales pipeline, a support cycle, or an onboarding process, CommandCenter brings clarity, consistency, and automation into your flows. Think about your lead follow-up process as an example. First, how much of it is currently done automatically? Do you feel like it's configured in such a way that it requires human intervention only when absolutely necessary? Secondly, is it conditionally automated entirely? Meaning the subsequent steps from point A to Z are all automated based responses to the previous one. We are not just talking about automation, we're talking about contextual automation in a three-dimensional sense. At its core, CommandCenter is a journey builder inside Zoho CRM, but it's important to understand it's not just an automation tool. It doesn't just move data, it moves customers through personalized journeys across different touchpoints. Think of CommandCenter setup this way. It defines a flow where every record moves through clearly defined stages based on triggers and transitions. Each stage represents a specific status in a customer's journey, like lead captured, code shared, or deal closed, etc. And these transitions define how a record moves from one stage to another. CommandCenter brings this model into life in your CRM, allowing you to visually build, automate, and manage these state-driven journeys with full control. Whether it's branching logic, signals, or conditional paths, the state machine foundation ensures that your process remains structured, scalable, and easy to optimize. On top of automating every required action at each step, imagine visualizing the entire customer process as a single intuitive journey. And that's what CommandCenter is for you. With more new enhancements and updates, CommandCenter is becoming a whole new product in the CRM Plus bundle. We will give you a sneak peek in what's new in all new CommandCenter 2.0, which now brings enhancements across builder, execution layer, and journey monitoring. From mini maps for better navigation to multi-action stages, every feature is designed to give you more control without adding complexity. Now that we've seen an overview of CommandCenter, Abhi will now take over the demo of the features within CommandCenter 2.0 and walk us through how they actually function, and he'll give you an introduction to what's new and upcoming in CommandCenter 2.0 as well. Over to Abhi.
Thank you, Moshmi. So my name is Abhilash Kumar. So I'm the product manager for Zoho Command Center. So I've been with Zoho for the past 8 years. So in today's session, we will start exploring what Command Center is. So for the beginning, first of all, let me show you how Command Center resonates with other features of Zoho CRM, and then how you can automate other things with it. So we will, in the second half of the session, we will have the hands-on demo of how to create journeys, and then finally we will have the Q&A. So let me explain how Command Center resonates with other features of CRM first. So I'm sure many of you would have tried or used Cadences. So one part of Cadences is what Cadences does is you are actually using a communication medium to set up for series of follow-ups, right? So when you add your leads or records within your Cadences, you automate the sequence of follow-ups. The follow-ups could be either through email, or it could be through task assigned to your salesperson, or it could be scheduling calls and have your salesperson talk to them directly. Based on the outcome of those emails or task or calls, the follow-up sequence are automated. So this is what a cadence is. Now imagine if you want to do more than what Cadences offers, right? So if your requirements outgrow Cadences feature, or if your process becomes more and more complex when your company grows, sometimes you might need a custom solution. Say, for example, what if you want to create a record after certain follow-up? What if you want to send out what if you want to use webhook to send the data to some other third party services to send maybe physical card or physical letter or something? Or what if you want to use custom function to send out the data from your CRM to another third-party service, maybe MailChimp, or even Salesforce, or even any other application that you might use for campaigning purpose. So if you are looking for doing some follow-ups with communication medium such as calls, emails, tasks, then Cadences would be. But if you want to go beyond that, if you want to do custom actions like other actions like create record or doing a field update for, let's say, after fourth or fifth follow-up, you want to set up a field update to mark the lead as closed, or you don't want that lead to be followed up forward afterwards, then the only way right now you can achieve that is you can set up certain follow-ups. After that, you would need to set up a workflow or manually update the record to make it as that this record should not be going through Cadences, or let us not concentrate on that records hereafter. So doing something, those sort of things can be done using Command Center. So if your requirements are beyond Cadences, then you would need to go with Journey Builder. Now here, let's take an example. I will show you how they differ. So here in the Cadences, the first follow-up in this example I have given as I'm sending out whenever my records are enrolled into Cadences, I'm sending out an email. So based on the email's outcome, I'm setting up a second follow-up. The follow-up could be if the email is opened, then create a task for my salesperson to follow up, or if the email is opened and not replied, or if the email was sent but there is no reply from them, then send a second follow-up. So that is again another email. So based on the outcome of this email, I'm setting up like if the email is opened or not, give a call, do a cold call. If that is also has some outcomes, like if the call is getting cancelled or if the outgoing call was success, and based on the outcome of the call, you can set up another follow-ups, right? So based on what the previous stage method is, you are going with conditional follow-ups. So this is what one cadence is, right? Now let's take a look at the new journey builder. So this is the new journey builder that we have come up with. So we are calling this as journey builder 2.0. So basically we have brought in a host of enhancements related to user experience, and we have added some new functionalities as well. Now if you take this journey, what I have done is I have basically replicated this entire cadences into this just a minute. Yeah. So into this journey. So you're looking at the entire cadence. So each cadence here. So this is the first mail I am sending. So that is what I have given here. So enrolling records are either in Cadences, you do that with a custom view, or you manually push the records to the Cadences. And here I am using that. So rather than using custom view, I can set up the condition for the records to enter automatically. So once the records are enrolled, I can set up an action to send out an email. So this is how I will set up an email. So here actions. So I will explain about actions and other parts in the coming time. I'm trying to show you how Journey Builder can be seen as a superset of Cadences, or the vice versa, Cadences as a subset of Journey. So if you look at here, I can set up emails here. So my first part of Cadence is done. So whenever the records are enrolled, send out an email. So that email is sent when they are coming to the stage using the actions here. So I can set up an action to send out the email just like that. So based on the outcome of that email, so if the email is sent and there is no follow back, then I am sending up a second email. So here I can set my second email. So that is what this particular flow is. So the email is sent and there is no reply. That means I need to create a task. So if I want to have a task, then I can simply create a task here. So I can simply create a task here. That means if the email is sent and they haven't replied back, I can set up a task. If the task is completed, I want to create a call, then you can do it. So this one path, so these three stages with these two transitions, this is what this particular path of Cadence is. Now for the second path, which is the longer one, I can replicate that as well. So here, if you take a look at here, so this is my second part of my cadence. So the record gets enrolled. I send out an email. If the email is opened, I send out my second email. So that is what here. My email is sent. If it is opened, then send out my second email. And based on the outcome, I'm configuring a call here. So the second email is open, then if that happens, I can configure a call. So if the outgoing call is scheduled or if it gets cancelled, then I'm sending out a third follow-up. So that third follow-up is here. So if the email is replied or clicked, I'm ending my follow-up, but you can obviously continue throughout your follow-ups. So I can do the same here. If the email is clicked or replied, move those records to the next stage. And from there, you can have them do other actions. So you can keep continuing your journey. And if the email is unsubscribed, you are marking them as the end stage. So it represents the negative state of the journey. I will explain all the elements in a bit. So if you want to continue with another set of emails, you can do so. So basically, if you are aware, if you know what Cadence is, or if you have used Cadences, then Journey Builder is easier to understand, because we see Journey Builder as an extension of Cadences. To give you another example, how CommandCenter resonates with other features, let's take workflow for example. So I'm sure 99% of our customers use workflows. So every organization has a need for automation, so we obviously have workflows used. So here I have configured 4 workflows. So the use case I have configured here is whenever lead gets created, send out a welcome email. If after a certain period, send out a second follow-up email. Based on the follow-up email's response, that is, if the email is clicked or opened or replied, do a third set of follow-up. And finally, create a task for my salesperson to validate my touch points, like validate my conversations and then end or close that particular lead. So I have created 4 workflows to achieve this process. So the first workflow here is create. Whenever a lead gets created and if their annual revenue is greater than $10,000, send out a welcome email. So let's see how we can replicate that in CommandCenter. So basically, we what Journey Builder is you can see it as a series of workflows. That is, if you have n number of workflows, like 10 workflows, 20 workflows, or 30 workflows, to configure to compensate your journey or to handle your process, so that a single process will be done in sequential manner. So for each sequence, you probably would have created one workflow. Now, if you want to intertwine them into a single process, then that is what Journey Builder is. So here I have replicated all my 4 workflows. So the first workflow is whenever a lead gets created and the annual revenue is greater than 10,000, send out an email. My second workflow is this one, follow-up email. So whenever the lead gets created, created or edited and the lead status is contacted, then send out my second follow-up email. So we will see how we have done that here. So here, my first transition is whenever a lead gets created, send out my welcome email. So that is what I have given. I will give it as an action here. So the welcome email is nothing but welcome email is nothing but what we are given in my welcome email workflow. My second workflow here is whenever a lead gets edited and the lead status is contacted, send my second email. So that is what I have given here. So whenever whenever an email is edited, whenever a record gets edited, send out the email. My second email is sent here. And here, my third workflow is when I have created it for emails. So basically, in workflow, we have the provision to track the emails, right? So whenever if I want to track the emails of a particular module, then I will create workflow for the emails where I will listen for the emails for a particular module, and that based on the value of that module, I'll send out the email notification. So that is what we have solved here as well. So if an email is sent, so based on that, whether it is clicked or not, I can set up a follow-up action. So what I'm showing here is you can, rather than having multiple workflows to solve one process, you can create them as a single journey. So to have a look at, so this part is we were demoing earlier, for which I had created some stages. So we can look at this path alone. So each transition here, so basically the starting stage, the transition, and my resulting stage. So this is one workflow. And based on that, my starting stage, transition, and the second stage. So this is my second workflow. So having these four workflows, I can have them as a single journey. So you might ask, what is the advantage of having as a single journey? I can have them as separate workflows. So what's the difference? So the major difference here is we cannot tell the system that you need to run this workflow first and then run the second workflow. We have the option to order the workflows to make it prioritize a workflow, but it will keep running all the workflows, right? So even if you reorder the workflows, say if you want the follow-up email to be run the third one, and if you want the welcome email to be sent first and create the task and then do the follow-up, it won't do. It will run all the workflows, like as long as the triggers and as long as the triggers and conditions matches, we will run the workflow. You cannot filter out the records, or you cannot tell what workflow should be run first and what workflow should go to the next one. Here you are doing transitions on order by order. So this third transition that you see here, send third email, it will not be run on second time because it is given under the third stage, right? The second stage. So the order of workflow is ensured here. That is the one major advantage, right? So you can ensure that if you have noted in some time, like whenever you place an order on e-commerce or whenever you place a order for food or something, on a rare cases, you would receive the delivery email first and then the payment confirmation, or sometimes you would receive the feedback first before, after which you might receive the delivery confirmation. That is because in the backend, the emails are scheduled in the automation, whichever application you use. And so on rare cases, the second email, the second workflow that was supposed to trigger might trigger before. Or if there is a delay in the first workflow to get triggered, and if the second workflow gets triggered, like here, they run on parallel basis, right? So rather than triggering let's take an example for delivery point. So someone is delivering you some items that you have ordered from your shopping website. So once the items are delivered, you get a delivery notification, delivery confirmation, and after a few seconds, you might receive the feedback for the delivery, right? How was your delivery? How was the delivery experience? If you have noted down, on a very rare cases, the delivery experience feedback you would be received first, and then your delivery confirmation. So that happens because there could sometimes, because of the load in the server or because of some time taken in the processing, you might receive the second email, which was not intentional by the organization. So there, your customers lose a bit of experience. They might like, hey, I haven't even received the items that I ordered. Before that, I have received the feedback, right? So that there is a, it's a very minute, but a little minor negative experience on your brand, because the workflows, not just Zoho's here, any application you take, they run on parallel. But if you go with Journey Builder here, so they are run on sequential basis. So unless the records are moved from the first stage to the second stage, this second or the third workflow will not run, right? So we are ensuring the continuity of the workflow and the order of the workflow when you go with the Journey Builder. So this is one major advantage where you are ordering the workflows. So the second part is, if when you configure workflow here, so basically it will consider all the records. You cannot tell the system that, hey, don't consider these records. You cannot tell the system that the records that were touched by this workflow should be run for this second workflow, right? So let's say welcome email, for example. So the welcome email is triggered for annual revenue greater than $10,000. So imagine in your organization, you receive hundreds of leads in a single day. So out of 100 leads, let's assume that for 60 leads, the annual revenue is greater than $10,000. Done. So now, for which, for those 60 leads, the welcome email is sent. Now, suppose if you want to send out the second follow-up, only for those 60 leads. So basically, you have the system, you have imported 100 leads. For out of 100 leads, for the 60 leads, the condition is $10,000. So sometimes after a call or something, you're updating the record so that you are changing the criteria. You're changing the annual revenue from $10,000 to $8,000 or $7,000. But for those, but still you want to send the follow-up because those records have been already followed up, right? Now, if you want to send a second workflow, and if you're giving the condition here as you're adding another condition, say annual revenue is greater than $10,000. So what happens is, what happens now is the workflow will trigger for the records for which the annual revenue is only greater than $10,000. But here, your requirement would be, I don't mind about the revenue being greater than $10,000. I just want the follow-up email to be sent to the records for which I have already sent the welcome email. So basically, you cannot give a condition that trigger this workflow for the records that had been touched by my previous workflow, right? Because we will not filter that these records have been run by workflow one. Now, if you want to give a condition as records touched by workflow one alone should be considered for my second workflow. So basically, you cannot filter records based on previous automations. But in Journey Builder, because of how execution works here, now whenever records enter this stage, so those records will be in the first stage, not any other records. Now, when you trigger or when you set up an automation to get run for the second set, we run only for those records, not all the records that match the condition. So the beauty of this behavior is you would be able to send contextual notifications, targeted notifications to your customers who are in a single path rather than sending it to everyone. Now, let's jump to explaining how the builder is. I will also give you a real-time practical use case. I will explain that as well, how the workflow part and cadences part will be helpful here. So when you create a journey, you will start with, so basically for journey, we have three main components. The first one is the stages that we have seen now. Just give me a minute. Yeah, okay. So the stage one is that we have three main components for Journey Builder. So the first one is stages. So stages are nothing but milestones of your customers. So let's take e-commerce shopping journey as an example. So you have a e-commerce site. So if there are potential buyers, they will first visit your page. Then they will be searching for product, or they might compare the product with the competitors, or compare it within your ecosystem itself. And once the product comparison done, they might have taken a decision whether to buy it or not, so they are adding it to cart. And after item is added to the cart, they may either make a payment, so they will try to make the payment. 99 or 90% of the case, the payment will be success. And in 10% of the case, the payment might have failed. Now they might retry it. So you can either have a stage to track the retry, or you can simply make it like the payment has been success, right? So let's say this is the very simple, straightforward case. The customers visit the page, they look for the product, they compare the product, and then they add to the cart. In most of the case, or in some of the case, customers might look at the product and then add to the cart directly if they are in a hurry, or if you are offering exclusive items, then there is no point of comparison. So in that case, they might add the items directly to the cart and they make the payment. Or sometimes they might make a inquiry after adding it to the cart. So from the product inquiry, they might have either tried the payment, or they might have simply wandered off, right? So let's take this as the example of the journey. So we have given some provision for UX like scaling part. So you can zoom in, zoom out to accommodate the view of your entire journey. So they are dynamically adjusted. So bigger the journey, the more zoom out we will give you. If it is the more smaller the journey, then the zooming part is restricted. We have a minimap option where you can simply scroll through across your larger journeys. Okay, so these are the UX parts that we have given. So as I was mentioning earlier, we have three main, or we can say it as the core components of our journey are. The first one is stages. So these are the rectangular boxes are the stages. So stages represent the milestone of your journeys. So the milestone here is when they are visiting the page, that is first milestone. When if they are making a product search, that is great. That is the second milestone. The comparison part, adding to the cart. So these are the milestones of your visitors, potential buyers. So those are added as stages. Now, the second important or the core part of journey is the transition. So you click on this plus icon. So this is what transition is. So you look at the signals. So signals are nothing but the triggers of your automation. So if you look at the workflow here, so the trigger here is whenever a record gets created or edited. So that is what the trigger is, right? So you can simply give that as a trigger here. So here we have CRM triggers. Apart from this, if you have integrated CRM with other Zoho apps, such as Survey, Backstage, Webinar, we provide those triggers as well. Say if you have a lead for which, or if you have a contact for which you are sending out a survey, you can track that as well inside the journey. So if the survey is responded, or if you are sending out the survey, so you can track that journey inside CommandCenter as well. So for the demo part, we will just stick with CRM signals. So here I'm giving the record as whenever a lead gets created. Say you have you're using your Shopify integration to whenever a visitor visits your web page, or if a logged in or if an account holder, your account holder, if they are visiting the page, you are simply creating a record. It could be a lead, or if it's an existing customer, you might have created them as a deal, right? So it's just for tracking purpose. You are adding them as a transition to track inside your CRM. So that data is entered. So whoever visits your page, they are getting added as a record inside CRM. So here you might, based on your need, you can set up actions. So this is the final part. So transition is, stages are the first core part. The second core part are transition. The third core part is your actions. So whenever your customers reach a particular stage, you can set up actions here. So actions are nothing but what you want to do when your records reach a particular stage. By records, I'm referring to your customers, or if you are setting up a journey to onboard your employees, then what you want to do to your employees when they reach a particular stage. Or if you are running an HR operation and if you are finding out candidates for your vendors, then how do you candidates for your customers, then how do you approach those candidates? So if you want, we have built Command Center as a platform to accommodate use cases of not just the sales journey. You can accommodate any type of journeys that you have on your mind. So whenever your customers reach a particular stage, if you want to send out a notification or you want to do something else, you can do all those sorts here. So here we have three types of actions. So instant action is nothing but you are doing something immediately once the customers or users reach the particular stage. So it's nothing more complex. It's same as that you see in workflow and other automation features of your Zoho CRM. So scheduled actions are again nothing but same set of actions that you do on a delayed manner. Like once they reach the stage, do it after 3 days. So how do this is also same as you see in workflow, but there is a slight difference between workflow and journey builder scheduled action. So in the workflow, if you set up a scheduled action, you cannot stop that, right? So if the condition matches and if the condition matches and the scheduled action is set up, it will trigger on that particular time period. But what if something changes and you want to cancel that scheduled action? So you can do that here in the journey builder. So how you do that is, if you set up, say, let's take field update as an action here. So I'm updating my company name to something like, I'm just giving it a test. So what happens is, once you set up a scheduled action, so I have given the time interval as 1 day, you can give it for hours and minutes as well. So what happens now, whenever record gets created, and if they stay in that stage for 1 day, you are doing a field update. Similarly, you can set up a webhook or custom function, or even set up an email notification to your customer. But if your records or your customers move within that 1 day, if they move to the next stage, we cancel out the scheduled action. So basically, the actions will be more meaningful to your customer rather than sending out a reminder. Say you are setting up a journey for your sales teams to follow up with your customers. The records might have been there for a day, so the scheduled action might have like created it. But your salesperson might have contacted those customers maybe a minute before or few minutes, few hours before. Now, if they receive a reminder notification, that won't be meaningful, right? Because before triggering, they have completed that particular part. So what we do in journey builder is, we will ensure whether the record is staying in that stage when we try to execute the action. If that record is not in that stage, but it has moved over to the next stage, then we basically cancel out that action. So it will be more contextual, meaningful. So you don't need to worry about actions getting triggered on a wrongful manner for your salesperson, and more importantly for your customers as well. So this is what scheduled action is. And finally, we have something called recurring action. So recurring action is nothing but that you see what you see as schedulers in CRM. So recurring action is you do an action on a repeated manner. So this also works similar to scheduled action. So the recurring action will keep happening for the records in that stage until those records are in it. If those records move on to the next stage, so the recurring action will stop for that particular stage. So here also you have the option for days, hours, and minutes. So you can trigger a reminder notification. The best use case for recurring action is triggering a reminder notification. Say, if you have a sales process where you need to move the records from your initial stage within 15 minutes, then you can set up a recurring action to send out an email notification to your salesperson or their manager stating that, hey, this record has been there in that stage for 15 minutes. Now, after 30 minutes, then the second notification will be triggered, like the record is still in that second stage or the first stage. So the recurring action is useful in those cases. So these are the three core parts of the journey. The first part is your stage. Stages are nothing but the milestones of your journey. The second part is the transition. So that is what signals are. So here the signals are nothing but triggers that you get from your CRM. So that will be configured as triggers. If you want to filter the conditions, just like how we saw in workflow, that if you want to trigger only for the leads that have the annual revenue as greater than $10,000, you can do that as well. So once the lead is configured, only those records will be entering into the stage. So this is the second part. So you can have multiple signals for your stages. So those who have been one major change we did for this core component, the stages, is if you are aware of the existing command center that you have in your CRM account, so they are module bounded. So when a stage is getting created, we will ask you to select for which module you are getting that stage. So basically, it is very limiting, right? So take for example, if you are tracking the leads, not just in leads module, but if you are tracking it in another module, say if you are having a roadshow or just how Zohoalics happens for Zoho, if you have some public meeting or something where you might get some leads, if you want to track those leads separately, like some companies, like the business process is not static. Each company and each organization will have and follow their own process. It's not one process is not same across organizations. The processes are unique. So some might track their leads in a single module. Some might track their leads in multiple modules. One module for my direct leads, one module for tracking my website leads, one module to bring in my cold leads. The cold leads are basically junk data, right? Most of the cold leads that you buy from this market, there might be like, it's a gray area, right? So the leads might not be warm leads, or they might not be even authentic. So you might think of like having a separate module so that those leads do not pollute the data that you already have in your CRM. So what I'm trying to say is the same module data can be spread out across multiple modules. So with the old command center, it was very limiting because you had to create a stage for a particular module. So what we did is we removed that concept completely, making the stages multi-module. So basically you can bring in the records, not just from leads, you can bring them from other modules as well. Say if you have a custom module to track your leads, you can do it. If you have another model, let's say if you want to track the visit page, could be for both leads and new customers, or for the existing customers for which you might be creating them as deals, right? So now I have three module data: the leads module, custom module, a deals module. So all these modules data are coming to my visit page stage. So we are making the stage as multi-module to accommodate all sorts of use cases where you might want to bring in the data of any module and combined together. So that is one change for this point is only applicable for those who have already used Journey Builder. I'm not sure how many are in the webinar currently who are existing users of Command Center. That is why I'm giving this point. Anyway, so the first core part is stage. The second part is transition. So transition hold the signals that they are nothing but triggers. The final part is actions. So in actions, we have three types of actions: instant, schedule, and recurring. Now, I want to highlight one other point here. So we are telling Command Center as a platform feature. And one of the main reason why we call that as platform feature is because you don't need to rely on any of these signals. You don't need to rely on CRM signals itself. You don't need to rely on Zoho app signals itself. Say, for example, you have a website and there is no real integration between your website and your CRM or any Zoho app. But if you want to track your users or customers from your website, you can do it. So we have something called custom signal. So it's at the bottom part of the panel. So this is what custom signal is. So custom signals are nothing but a way to send a trigger manually or automatically that originate outside Zoho or even within Zoho, right? Like if you have a Zoho app and if we do not have integration with it, you can simply use it. So what custom signal does is, let's say I'm calling the signal name as visitor and I'm giving their ID as email. So the parameters are nothing but what information you are trying to send to Zoho. So I'm giving email, then probably if I have their phone number, I might send their phone number. So what we do is when you save the signal, we will give you the URL of it. So this URL is unique to this particular signal. And when you invoke or when you trigger the signal from your website, so you can do this from your website using a script. So if you have a Shopify integration or if you are using Zoho sites, so in that footer part or within the page properties, you can write a script to invoke the signal whenever someone visits the page. And when you invoke the signal, what information you want to send it over to Zoho Command Center is what you are giving it here and its properties. That means you don't need to integrate or you don't need to do anything between CRM and your third-party application. You can simply use the custom signal to send this information into Command Center. The beauty of this is you can create actions. So when you create an action, you can use the merge field of the data from your custom signal. So basically, rather than relying on complex integrations, you can use the custom signal to bring the data from your outside sources, and using the actions of Command Center, you can create entries into your modules with that information. So that is one very powerful feature. So this is why we call Journey Builder as platform, because you don't need to rely on our six signals. Our out of box signals might not even be useful for you. So in those cases, you can simply go with custom signals and invoke the custom signal from your website, or even if you have a mobile app for you, then you can. And if you want to track your users in your mobile application, you can do it. If you want to track some web pages, you can do it. So all these cases are addressed using custom signal. So that is all about the builder. And here we have something called stage transition wait. These are nothing but drag and drop elements for easier creation. So you can drag and drop stages, you can drag and drop transitions to choose to which stage the transition would go to, or you can even click on the transition and you can choose like from which start to which stage the transition is going for. And there is something called wait. So this is another type of transition. So wait is nothing but a delayed manner to send your records from one stage to the other. Say, for example, let's take the added to cart as an example, right? So if your customers have added items to the cart, and if they haven't made a purchase after 5 days or 10 days, now you want to prioritize contacting them, right? So what you can do is you can create a stage to prioritize those records, like prioritize or something like that. So you can set up a wait component, a wait transition here to send it to. So basically what it does is, here also we have three types of intervals: days, hours, and minutes. So if you want to send the records from this added to cart stage to the priority after 3 days, then simply setting this wait will move all the records. Not by all the records, I mean the records that entered added to cart stage and have been there for the past 3 days. So that is effectively like dynamically you are moving only the records that have been there for 3 days, not all the records at that moment, but rather the records that have been there for the past 3 days. So this way you are moving you are able to target and pull out or remap records that have been waiting in a queue, right? Or let's say if you are running a service based company, then if the records are, if your customers are in waiting queue after for given interval, right, like it is 3 days or few hours, and if you want to move them to a different queue, you can use this wait component. So this is one advantage of having wait component. So okay, so now I wanted to explain another use case how command center benefits. We can talk, I will explain that using the actions part, how we say command center as an experience platform rather than automation or process management. That is why even under CRM settings page, the command center will be positioned under experience center rather than automation or process management. So I will quickly run down on why we have placed it like that. So let's take the e-commerce itself as an example, since we have been talking about that in the entire session. So here I am adding the visitors are visiting the page. So they are added as record in your CRM. So they are in the visited page stage. So whenever they search for the product, they are moving to this particular stage. Now, here's the difference. So I have two different paths for my customers who have searched for the product. So one set of customers compare the product and then they add it to the cart. Another set of customers, so basically they didn't do any research. They searched for the product and then added that directly to the cart. So this would mean either they are very confident of your brand, or you are doing some exclusive products that are available only in your website or something like that, right? So basically, this set, the customers who are coming in this path, those who are searching it and then adding to the cart directly. So their percentage of dropout would be very less, right? Because they don't compare it. They know that they have searched it, added it. That means they are confident in buying it. So let's assume that they are confident of 80% from here. Now, the second set of customers here, so they searched it, compared the product, and then added to the cart. So this set of people, they are comparing it. That means they may buy the product afterwards, or they are waiting out to buy it from some other source, right? That means the chance of this set of customers to buy the product is less than this path. So this path is 80%, and this path, let's say 60%. So there is a 20% chance for dropout here, and there is a huge 40% chance of dropout here. How do you improve their conversion rate? So this is what command center will help you with. Now let's just remove this stage. Deadline, 1 second. Okay, so I just deleted the stage to keep the journey clear for our explanation purpose. Okay, so this one set, they are comparing it and coming here. This set, they are adding it directly. So this is 80% probability of conversion to success, and this is, there is only 60% of chance for the conversion. Now, we'll quickly create signal here. Only then I can show you the action part. I'm just giving random signal here just so that we can see how they benefit. Okay, so when you try to add action, so there is something called run for specific transition. So the advantage of this is you can choose to run the actions based on which path they came to, right? So how does this help is, so the customers who are adding the item to the cart directly, the 80% chance to buy the product. So in that, let's say that is 50 customers. So 30 customers would have tried for the payment. They might have made success and be done with it. So there is another 20 customers out of that 50 who are still in that item added to cart. So those 20 customers have only 80% probability to move to the next stage, or they might just drop off. So abandoned cart is one of the major bottleneck of e-commerce websites. So what again, if you have purchased or added items to your cart in your Amazon or any online shopping website, you would receive a notification after a few minutes or hours or even days stating that, hey, some of the items are in your cart. I will give you 5% discount or 10% discount. Why don't you buy it right away? Now, if you think behind that action, that 5% discount, 10% discount is not applicable for everyone. That is applicable only for those customers, the customers who added the item to the cart but did not make the payment. So you are basically targeting a portion of the customers, and you are even dividing those customers based on how they came through. So the items were added to the cart, so they come from my transition 3. So I'm giving them the transition as 3. Okay. So this transition 3 customers have 80% probability because they did not compare the item with anything else. For them, I will send out an email notification stating that I will give you 5% discount. Or you might use webhook or function to trigger a pop-up or something in your website itself directly to tell them that, hey, okay, I will give you 5% discount. But the customers who came with this path, those who compared the product, but they still haven't compared the product and added the item. So I will just, for the sake of the demo, I will just simply add a action to show you the comparison part. Now, so transition 3 is 80% win rate. Transition 5 is nothing but 60% win rate. Okay, so now we are very clear. So 60% win rate is this path. So So 60% path is this one, 80% path is this one. So for the 80% path, I'm giving an email with 5% notification, like 5% discount, or even probably pop-up mail or something. So the action could be instant, or you can again set up a scheduled action or a recurring action to nudge those customers who have 80% win rate to push through to the payment for 5% discount. Now, I can set up an action for 60% win rate, and for them, I can set up an email notification to give 10% discount or even 20% discount, right? So what happens is, based on the journey of your customers, you are actually giving more contextual and even more meaningful communication or actions to your customers. So here I'm giving it as just for the namesake, I'm adding an action, but you can set up any action, webhook, custom function, email, whatever. So here, I can even set up a scheduled action to run immediately or after 1 day, or even you can set up recurring action. So all the customers are in the same stage, but the way they came differs. So based on the way they came through, you are setting up actions. So the 60% win rate will have 20% discount or 10% discount. The 80% win rate path, you would be giving only 5% discount. So this way, effectively, you are increasing your revenue, your sales revenue, with very minimum loss to your profit. Rather than giving 20% discount for all your customers, or 10% discount, whatever that is, you are giving selected discount based on which path they are. If they are loyal customers, probably they might have another path. So the loyal customers, you might give even more discount, right? Because they are loyal to your brand. So effectively, based on what path they are taking or what type of customers they are to you, you are actually making the experience more meaningful to them. So rather than sending out generic emails, you're sending out emails based on what they are, where they are, and who they are. And this part is very, very important going forward, because nowadays customers are not worrying about cost and value of the products, but rather how they are treated, what sort of experience they are getting out of the brand. So this experience out of the brand is mainly focused by Command Center. This is why we have placed Command Center under Experience Center, because we see this as orchestration platform for boosting your experience. So this gives more meaningful, and it increases positivity of your brand little bit. How much ever it is, it will definitely increase uh, uh, your customers appreciation towards your brand. During the earlier sort of the demo, I was telling how when you receive workflows in a different order might give a negative impact. This way you are increasing the positive impact to your customers. So this way the customers are happy, they leave with a positive note. So this is why we call this as Experience Center. And finally, there is one other concept I would like to touch upon. So when you configure transitions, there is something called identifiers here. So identifiers are nothing but unique values that represent your customers. So unique value, I'm talking about in the same e-commerce website example. So whenever your customers log in or when they sign up to the product for the first time, we will be getting their email data alone, right? You might not get their phone number, because the email would be much more easily receivable than the phone number, because phone numbers are even more personal. But once they sign up, view the items, add the items to the cart, and when they make a payment for OTP verification or to get their confirmation or to get their phone number, at one point you get their phone number. And customers also will not be reluctant because they are making a purchase in your website. That means during my initial time, for customer A, you will have their email address. For the same customer A, at the end, you might have their phone number. And across their journey, you might have your own unique identification value. Something like in Zoho, we have Zoho user ID, ZU ID, for representing the users. We have ZG ID or Zoto ID. So that is organization ID that uniquely represents your org. And if you are in from US, then there is social security number, which is unique. Your bank account number is unique. Your driving license number is unique. So the value that uniquely represents one person and not any other person is what we call as identifier. So how this helps and why this is needed in configuration is, as I mentioned earlier, we removed the module concept on the stages. And of course, journey builder spans across all the modules, because your customer's journey not resides within one module. They start at one module, they end at the end at n number of modules, right? So in this example itself, visit page is lead. It could be added to cart, could be your deal. Payment made could be a separate record in payments for tracking. After payment, you might have another module to collect feedback or send out surveys, right? So the journey starts from one stage, one module, and it will end at any module. And it would have crossed across n number of modules. So that is why we have something called identifier. So identifiers will help you link the same customer across different data. So in your leads module, you might have the field as contact email. In your deals module or in your payment, you might have it as buyer's contact. So the field name would vary, but the value would remain the same. So rather than giving us the field mapping, you are telling us to look at the values of these fields. So how they help is, so during my first stage, say I am giving the identifying value here as email. Now, after certain stages, now the identifying value could be my caller ID. So that is my phone number, or it could be some other custom fields that you have. So that value will also be treated as identifier. So what we do is, During my initial stage, this email will be representing my user A. Now in my second transition, I'm giving it as my caller ID and subject. Let's consider subject will have the email ID. So now there is a overlapping data, right? So in my first transition, that email. In my transition 2, I have the subject, which will have the email ID, and I have the phone number. So what we do is, since the email ID matches from transition 1, the transition 1, the email value is an email field. In transition 2, the email value is in subject. So since these two matches, we will intelligently choose that this trigger is happening for the same person. And for whatever other fields that you are giving here, so those field value will also be appended to person A. So during my first phase, the person A's contact, the identifying value is email. But when they reach my second transition, so because the subject matches with transition 1, so that we will decide that email person A's email is the same. That means the whatever the data is in that particular record, so that will also be started denoting person A. So from this transition onwards, if the value exists in calls ID and dial number field, so these two value will also be added as identifying value for person A. So what happens is, when they come for my third transition, we look at not just email, but look at the other two values as well. So now I have three values to uniquely represent a single person. So this way, across the journey, we keep adding new values to the same person. Effectively, this allows you to, rather than copying or mapping the same data over and over across module, you are telling the system to look for these values in any fields. And if one value matches, we will move them to the next stage. So this way, we will identify the same person across modules, any modules. And the major advantage of doing this is, again, in the core part, the actions part. So when you configure action, if you look at here, we will list all the modules that are available in your CRM. The reason is, let's say when my customer, when my potential buyer visited my page, they are added as record as leads, right? So now they are in the payment page. So the payment might be a separate module in your organization. Now, when they reach here, what if you want to do the action not just in payment, but also for the lead part, but they are not directly linked? If the payment module is linked to the lead, you can simply create a workflow, right? In field update, we list the related modules. In emails also, we list the related modules. So using that, you can set up actions. But what if they are not linked directly? So that is where, one second, sorry, I think I missed a tab. Yeah. So what if they are not linked in your system, but rather inside your journey? So if you want to invoke the actions for the visited record rather than the current record, or if you want to set up action for the current record as well as the records that were visited in my previous path, so they were transitioning from one path, so you can do so. So if I configure the action for lead, so basically my last visited lead for person A will be considered and we will run the action. So this will effectively reduce your configuration load, and it will also help you run actions across modules from the same place. So this is how we have achieved, these are the major changes that we have brought in 2.0 to help you with your customer's journey and also do contextual actions. Now, finally, so all these are from the admin perspective. So you are configuring, you are setting up actions. So all those things are done. What happens afterwards? So the action part is the 80% use case for Command Center. Now that the remaining 20% is when the actions are run, those actions can be, those records can be seen in your reports, right? So I will quickly, we are running out of time. I will quickly give you a glance on the reports and we can start the Q&A. I think Q&A will be going on parallel. If anything requires the demo part, we will do it. So the stages we will list, and each stage, we only have one active stage. So you are seeing that. So for each stage, how many records are there? will be listed here. If the time taken each stage, so there is no average time taken. That is why the report is not loading, but it will show on like how much time each all the records took in each stage. So it will help you analyze which stage has a bottleneck, like which stage is taking more time. So you can use that information to optimize your journey, or you can use that information to improve your experience to your customers. Finally, we have another report where we map the entire journey that you have created, where we will show you how many records entered in each transition and how many records are currently in respective stages. This will help you get insights, like you can do predictions, like how many records will finally end up with a positive outcome, how many records will finally end up with negative outcome. So it will help you and your sales manager to determine the setup forecast for your journeys, that is the records that will be completing the journey. And on the record part, like how we showed you on the presentation, so basically on the record we will show a strip where it will show the information like in which stage this particular record is at and in which journey it is. Now, the major part here is journey builder runs on state machine principle, right? So state machine is nothing but a computer concept where the underlying principle is one record or one something can exist in one part or in one stage rather than in multiple stage. Example is if you take approval process or approval record itself, the approval of a record can either be in approved stage, or it can be in rejected stage, or it can be in waiting for approval. It cannot be in rejected and approved stage simultaneously, right? So that is what the underlying principle of journey builder. So one record can be in one stage at any given time. So this effectively removes the possibility of random automations happening. So that is why I mentioned about that series of workflow, how they help with running the actions on a sequential manner. So that is happening because of the state machine principle. But one record can be part of multiple journeys. Say, for example, for Christopher here, they can have a cross-sell journey or an upsell journey. Simultaneously, they would be in talks with the marketing team for giving a testimonial. So the marketing team might have created a journey to track the testimonial status. So whatever journey they are part of, we will include those journeys, and each journey in which stage they are will be listed down here. So this effectively gives your salesperson the additional information they can use. So you are empowering your salesperson with additional information, like in which stage they are. So if they are at a stage in a negative manner, like if they are in the added to the cart example, then when a salesperson calls them, hey, it seems like you have added the items but you haven't made a purchase. So that part of additional information, because nowadays sales closure mainly depends on what data they have with. So if they have good data and more data, the sales closing is much easier. If they are blind when they make the call, it will be very tedious, right? So again, that gives more experience to the customers. So we are using that information and list them in the record strip for additional convenience. So this is one thing. And we record all the changes that happens to the record in the timeline entry as well for your tracking part. And there is finally, we have a dedicated module called CommandCenter. So the CommandCenter module lists all the records that are part of the journey. So just give it a second. Yeah. So all the records that are part of the journey are listed in CommandCenter module. So here we show you all the involved records. As you can see here, Christopher is the lead in which this record is lying right now, like the journey is taking part. So if there are multiple records of different modules, so we list all the modules here. So basically from one view, you have 360-degree view of all the involved records for a particular customer. So the Christopher here might have an option, might have involved deal, they might be involved in payment, they might have been involved in testimonial, etc. So all those records will be linked here. So rather than a direct link, we will give you an indirect link of all the involved records for a single journey. So this will be very useful for you to decipher all the scattered data, to see all the scattered data in a single place. So that's all about Journey Builder and how it helps with your processes and increasing your experience with your customers. Now let's jump straight away to your Q&A session. The first part is based on the number of stages. We will list all the stages. Currently, there is only one stage, so that is why you are seeing only one stage here. If you have 5 different stages, then we will list all the 5 stages. And for each stage, how many records are in that stage will be shown. So basically, it will give you an understanding of how many records are in each stage. So it's one part. The second report is average time taken. So it will also show similar to this, but rather than showing the record, we will show you the record count along with the time taken. So that will be dynamic. So basically, it will give you a gist of how much time each stage is taking. So if you take this example, okay, if you take this example, so I have n number of stages. Now let's say after second follow-up, my records are coming to my second follow-up stage, but the time it takes to move them to the calls scheduled is taking, let's say, 5 days in an average. But for other stages, let's say it's taking few minutes, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or even 1 or 2 days. That means the records are getting accumulated in my send second email stage, and the time they take to move to calls module is taking 5 days, which is enormous depending on your process, obviously. So this insight will help you to understand the bottleneck in your process. Like probably the calls scheduling is taking more time for the leads. Maybe the reason could be your sales reps are overloaded with incoming calls, or they are overloaded with too many leads, or for some reason the records are not assigned properly to the salesperson. So we don't give you that insight, but we tell you that, hey, for some reason the records are taking too much time in that particular stage. So that will effectively give you insight that some backlog is happening for some reason. Maybe I can create a record and show you how it will look like. And finally, we have, I will show that in a minute. Finally, we have a journey report where we show you how many records came in which path. So basically, this is useful for the e-commerce example I mentioned earlier, right? So they have, your customers can take multiple paths. So which path were taken more can be analyzed by the number in the transition, and currently in which stage the total count is. So this is the initial cut. So what we will do is, in the going forward in the coming days, we will give you an option to filter the records of that stage. So basically, effectively, you can see the records in each stage and make actions directly from there. Currently, this is not possible, but that is now immediate plans. So coming to showing the duration part, so this cadence to journey. So basically what I have given is, whenever a record gets created, it will enter my first stage, and whenever that record gets edited, it will move along to my second stage. So it's a very basic flow, just so that we can see how it works. So I have created it. So for which create of, okay, I think I misspelled it. It's actually create of a lead. So that is my journey. That is my stage. And the name of the journey is test journey that you see here. So I have created it. So it took some seconds. Now I am editing it. So basically that will trigger my second transition. So as you can see here, stage 2 is my second stage here. Sorry, I didn't give any name to it. So it moved to it. So now let's look at the report of it. Think it will take some time because there will be like we push the data on a scheduler manner. So I think that's why it's not showing up. Let me see if there are any other. Yeah. I will get back to you. Can I send you over an email, like screenshots of how it will look like? Because it will take some time for the data to get accumulated once we use Zoho Analytics in the backend to generate the reports. So the data from Command Center has to go to Zoho Analytics, and then from there it will generate the report. So I will create that and I will share it to you. I think we will have your email address, so we will definitely get back to you with that. Okay. Priya, any other questions like where we need to show a demo?
The last one, could you provide cases where not to use Command Center?
Setting up journey builders kinda will take time because you need to decide, you need to come up with the milestones, that is the stages, figure out the actions part, and then set it up. Now, if your case is like straightforward, if something happens, do this, then you need to stick with workflow because creating workflows is matter of seconds and you can make changes to it at any given time. Now, if you want to do communications follow-up, like if you want to do series of follow-ups based on previous actions, and your requirement is to stick with just emails or task or call, then we would recommend you to use cadences. It's not like you need to, it's not like you cannot configure them in Command Center, but it will take time, and Command Centers are kind of resource heavy. And you need to make sure that if your process is entirely interconnected, and if you want to have a visual cue, and if you want to have a easier maintenance part, then if you are okay, basically if you are okay with spending initial amount of time for lifelong lifelong benefits without making any adjustments, then journey builder is very apt because uh, if your process involves very straightforward case and if it requires your constant changes, then we recommend straightforward solutions such as cadences and workflow. If it's kind of like well established process, and if you want to be like, okay, I will put my time, create the journey and be done with it, everything should be done automatically, then you will have to come for journey builder. It's not like there are exact cases where you should not do one feature, where you should not use one feature over the other. It's simply matter of your convenience. So debugging part is not um, you can have custom functions created in each stage or set up a field update. So in 99.9%, it will not stop the journey, right? Like we will make sure that things are happening in the back end because we understand Command Center is very crucial for business because we call it as experience center. We want to ensure that you are giving the best experience to your customers. So in the backend infrastructure itself is very heavy for CommandCenter, unlike other features. That is one of the main reason we have made CommandCenter as a separate product rather than keep it as feature forever inside CRM. We wanted the product CommandCenter to scale to meet the requirements of everyone, but if it's not working or something, if your trigger is getting disabled for some reason, we actually send out an email to the admins stating that there is some problem in your journey. Like if our backend automation detects that some signals, say you have configured survey signal, and for some time, if you are disconnecting your survey, that means that survey signal will not work inside CommandCenter. So if that happens, we automatically send our backend automation will send you an email stating that your organization's journey builder has some issue. In the UI, we will show that if there is some problem, like if we detect some problem, we will give you a UI option where you will give you a UI notification. Basically, it will be something like this. Like you cannot see now, but if you have configured API signal or something, we will show in the future. So here we will show you alert icons saying that, hey, this journey has some issues and it might not work properly. Something like that, we will give you a notification. And this will also be sent out to an email. And we also have plans to actually incorporate ZIA inside CommandCenter. So if it detects some anomalies in it, we will automatically send out notifications to you based on your configuration. So ZIA anomaly detection is something in our plan. That is intelligence notification. Straightforward breakages in your journey, or if something happens from our side, which will not happen, but if sometimes happens, we will alert to super admins and admins of the organization, and we will see if we can improve that part.
And I think we finally come to the end of the session. Thank you, everyone.